New Zealand is an island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. It consists of two main land masses, the North Island and the South Island, and over 700 smaller islands. It is the sixth largest island country by area, covering 268,021 square kilometers. The country's varied topography and sharp mountain peaks, including the Southern Alps, owe much to tectonic uplift and volcanic eruptions. New Zealand's capital city is Wellington, and its most populous city is Auckland, owing to their remoteness. The islands of New Zealand were the last large habitable landmass to be settled by humans. Between about 1280 and 1350, Polynesians began to settle in the islands and then developed a distinctive Maori culture. In 1642, the Dutch explorer Abel Tasman became the first European to sight and record New Zealand. In 1840, representatives of the United Kingdom and Maori chiefs signed the Treaty of Waitangi, which in its English version declared British sovereignty over the islands. In 1841, New Zealand became a colony within the British Empire. Subsequently, a series of conflicts between the colonial government and Maori tribes resulted in the alienation and confiscation of large amounts of Maori land. New Zealand became a dominion in 1907, it gained full statutory independence in 1947, and the British monarch remained the head of state. Today, the majority of New Zealand's population of 5.1 million is of European descent. The indigenous Maori are the largest minority, followed by Asians and Pacific Islanders. The official languages are English, Maori, and New Zealand Sign Language, with the local dialect of English being dominant. A developed country, New Zealand ranks highly in international comparisons of national performance, such as quality of life, education, protection of civil liberties, government transparency, and economic freedom. The country was the first to introduce a minimum wage, and the first to give women the right to vote. New Zealand underwent major economic changes during the 1980s, which transformed it from a protectionist to a liberalized free trade economy. The service sector dominates the national economy, followed by the industrial sector and agriculture. International tourism is also a significant source of revenue. Nationally, legislative authority is vested in an elected unicameral parliament, while executive political power is exercised by the cabinet, led by the Prime Minister, currently Jacinda Ardern. Queen Elizabeth II is the country's monarch and is represented by the Governor-General. In addition, New Zealand is organized into 11 regional councils and 67 territorial authorities for local government purposes. The realm of New Zealand also includes Tokelau, a dependent territory, the Cook Islands, and Niue, self-governing states in free association with New Zealand, and the Ross Dependency, which is New Zealand's territorial claim in Antarctica. New Zealand is a member of the United Nations, Commonwealth of Nations, ANZUS, OECD, ASEAN Plus 6, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, the Pacific Community and the Pacific Islands Forum. Early colonial New Zealand allowed the British government to determine external trade and be responsible for foreign policy. The 1923 and 1926 imperial conferences decided that New Zealand should be allowed to negotiate its own political treaties, and the first commercial treaty was ratified in 1928 with Japan. On September 3, 1939, New Zealand allied itself with Britain and declared war on Germany, with Prime Minister Michael Joseph Savage proclaiming, "Where she goes, we go, where she stands, we stand." In 1951, the United Kingdom became increasingly focused on its European interests, while New Zealand joined Australia and the United States in the ANZUS Security Treaty. The influence of the United States on New Zealand weakened following protests over the Vietnam War, the refusal of the United States to admonish France after the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior, disagreements over environmental and agricultural trade issues, and New Zealand's nuclear-free policy. New Zealand has a strong presence among the Pacific Island countries. A large proportion of New Zealand's aid goes to these countries, and many Pacific people migrate to New Zealand for employment. New Zealand's military services, the Defence Force, comprise the New Zealand Army, the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and the Royal New Zealand Navy. New Zealand's national defence needs are modest since a direct attack is unlikely. However, its military has had a global presence. The country fought in both world wars, with notable campaigns in Gallipoli, Crete, El Alamein, and Cassino. The Gallipoli campaign played an important part in fostering New Zealand's national identity and strengthened the Anzac tradition it shares with Australia. The national cuisine has been described as Pacific Rim, incorporating the native Maori cuisine and diverse culinary traditions introduced by settlers and immigrants from Europe, Polynesia, and Asia. New Zealand yields produce from land and sea. Most crops and livestock, such as maize, potatoes, and pigs, were gradually introduced by the early European settlers. Distinctive ingredients or dishes include lamb, salmon, kora, crayfish, bluff oysters, whitebait, pau, abalone, mussels, scallops, kamara, sweet potato, kiwi fruit, tamarillo, and pavlova considered a national dessert. A hangi is a traditional Maori method of cooking food using heated rocks buried in a pit oven, still used for large groups on special occasions, such as tangihanga.